And we were just talking, and all of a sudden this truck comes up out of nowhere and just screeches on the tires like 2 feet from me, pretending like he was going to hit me.
What's up, guys? Today we have special guest David Bruce. David is an investor from the Big Island. Got an incredible story of being broke at 40 to millionaire in just 3 years. He's done over 100 transactions and raised over 30 million in private money. Welcome to the show, bro.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, you flew over for the day, just hanging out here on Oahu. Mm-hmm. But you're based over on the Big Island.
Yeah, that's right.
Have you always lived on the Big Island?
No, I moved there post graduating college. I lived in Europe for a year.
Okay.
And wasn't really ready to grow up. And so I was like, you know what, I need to figure my life out spiritually. So I did this discipleship training school with Youth with a Mission. That's what brought me here. And actually surfing, because they had this surf
So
school.
Youth with a Mission, that's like they teach kids to go on mission trips and share about Jesus. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Yeah. We went to the Philippines, helped build the church. Cool. Really opened my eyes to what true joy is, because they didn't have anything, but they had joy. You know, it was very impacting for me. So I ended up staying on with the organization.
Okay, and they're based on the Big Island. So that's how you kind of got your foot in the door on the Big Island.
Yeah. So
broke at 40, what led to that? And then how did you find real estate through all of this?
Yeah, so it actually started around that time. It was so my journey is a cautionary tale of how not to get started into real estate. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad in 1999 with my best friend, college roommate. We shared a bunk bed. Cool. And the light bulb went on for both of us, but for me, it was just a little flicker, and he actually did it. So I graduated, lived in Europe, like I said, and then came back, did the DTS, and I stayed on with Youth with a Mission, and I met my wife there.
Okay.
And we ended up starting a band together.
Cool.
So it was like in the back of my mind, but I was just...
You mean real estate was in the back of your mind?
Yeah. That book really, like it's impacted so many.
So both of you guys, you and your best friend read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Your best friend kind of took it to heart and he ran with it.
Yeah. I ran with my creative passions,
Nothing wrong with that. So,
yeah. And we actually started a band and did that for almost 10 years.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So we were based on the Big Island, but we toured a lot, really around the world, over 20 countries on tour. Our three main we weren't really known in America, and we intentionally did that. It was like New Zealand, Australia, and Japan. Cool. Were kind of our three main markets. So yeah, I did that for roughly a decade, and then we started having kids. Our 2-year-old, actually, he's been to over 20 countries as well. He was on tour with us, and then we got pregnant with our second child. We're like, we can't do this anymore. And so at the end of that 10-year run, I just had, what am I going to do? And it was like a identity crisis a little bit. But I had that seed planted 10 years prior.
The Rich Dad, Poor Dad seed.
Yeah. So I called my buddy Doug, and by that point he had probably flipped 200 homes.
Wow! So like you guys both, you guys both read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Your buddy took it to heart. He starts going heavy into real estate investing, and then you're living your best life as a rock star band with a traveling band. But then after the end of the run, now you're trying to figure out what you want to do. But your buddy has been kind of crushing on the real estate side.
Yeah. So I call him up and like, hey Doug, and this is what's going to happen. I'm going to move my family to your town, and I just need you to teach me what's in your head. You don't have to pay me anything. So it was kind of a big risk. And so I was working at a restaurant at night, paying for rent and food and bills, and then I was just shadowing him. And so what I really made myself indispensable to his company without, it's definitely a little strange. And, thank God he was like, okay, Bruce, you're going to show up here. I'd show up at his office, and then it just sort of morphed into learning every aspect of his business, wholesaling, dispo, knocking on doors.
So it was almost like a free mentorship or a free coaching program. It was like a one-on-one with this guy, your best friend.
Someone, yeah. And, our closeness of our relationship, he was like, okay, cool. And then that morphed into, okay, you know what, you're doing good stuff. I'm going to pay you, sort of project managing. This was back in the day when the crash was happening.
What year was this?
This was like 2000, post 9/10.
Okay. Okay.
And so back then there were so many foreclosures hitting the market, and we'd get a list in the morning and it'd be like 30 addresses.
Wow.
And my job was to go to those addresses, knock on the door. I'm so sorry. And my job was to get as much information as I could.
Okay. About these houses.
Yeah.
Right? So-
And most of the time people were like, yeah. And other times people were like, F off, get out of here. But my goal was to walk in, look at the house, take a mental picture. Sometimes they would let me take pictures. I'd walk out, hey, Doug, it needs a new roof, flooring, this, you know. And then he would calculate his rehab, and then we'd make the offer at the courthouse. So yeah, I kind of dove in head first. And the intent was to learn all of that and bring it back here.
To Hawaii, over here.
And so I came back here, and Hawaii is a really challenging market.
I think people don't realize that, like the amount of like property in Hawaii and the real estate investing market in Hawaii is so different. I feel like than anywhere else in the U.S.
It's so different, and so I was all excited and tried to jump in, and I couldn't, or I didn't, and it was just a mindset thing. It was a limiting belief, and so at the same time. My other good friend is a film director, and he was starting this film studio. And he's like, hey, Bruce, I think some of your skill sets translate, music. And so I did that for 5 years. But the way that I stayed connected to Doug, I said, listen, I want to start raising capital for you.
Okay.
At the time, hard money was 3 points and 12%.
Okay, so that's very expensive money.
And I said, give me a shot. I'll raise money for you, 2 points. You'll save some money.
Okay.
And he was just like, yeah, whatever, have at it, good luck. And so I was using his success, and I said, hey, I'm raising money. And I quickly started gaining investors. Most of those investors are still with me today.
Cool. Okay.
And
how did you kind of start? So like raising money is as real estate investors, we don't use all of our own money for our deals. But we partner with people who have money to be able to like afford to either flip houses or do like wholesaling or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right?
So I honestly wasn't making that much. I mean, it was good because it was 2 points, and I think at that point I had raised close to 15, 20 million in there.
Wow. Okay.
It was for his project.
Yeah.
And it was actually pretty awesome in the sense where the film stuff had a okay income, and this kind of offset.
Yeah.
The film stuff was a public-private thing that came to an end. And so that income went away. And I just hit this peak, and I was 40 years old. It was Christmas time, and I had no money. And so I had to borrow $10,000 from my father-in-law. Thank you. It was very humbling.
Yeah.
So my back was against the wall.
Yeah.
And I'm talking with Doug. He's like, Bruce, you need to jump out on your own and start doing real estate. And that's what I did. And I said, well, what about the money? And he's like, I don't need your money. I can get money from anywhere. And so I reached out to all of those investors. I said, hey, I'm starting my own thing.
Yeah.
If you want to come invest with me, awesome. If you want to stay with Doug, awesome. Every single one of those investors jumped ship and is now still investing with me.
That's so interesting. So really, like, I feel like a lot of times people don't realize that real estate investing is really relational. There's a lot of numbers 100%. And there's a lot of things on spreadsheets where you got to make sure your numbers are correct. But at the end of the day, it's talking to people and building your team, getting people to work together with you where the magic really happens. People
are investing in you, because they know you and they trust you. And to me, that's everything. Like I said before, if I ever lost money to the point where I couldn't pay it back, I would sell my house. That's how serious, I take it.
I think that's a really good point I think you make. A lot of people think that when they borrow money or they partner with investors to do these deals, that if the deal goes south, then the investor is out of luck. But if you're like really serious about investing, like you have to make sure all your lenders are made whole before you're made whole, right? So like I like how you said like you sell your house first before you have your investor lose money.
Yeah,
like, that's so important.
100%. And that's everything. And it's a lot of responsibility. you know?
I mean, like sometimes, like, you know, so we raise a lot of money for like our deals and things, and I feel the weight of like the other people's money like on my shoulders. Sometimes it's almost like an emotional, spiritual weight, like that sense of responsibility. You have people's life savings on the line,
Yeah.
basically. Like if you can't pay that back, like I mean, yeah, it would be like catastrophic for these other people who have invested
Yeah.
in you or alongside you, right?
Yeah, you know, it keeps you close to God. But, you know, thank God I've never lost money on a property. I'm about to probably lose money on my first one.
Okay. Well, investing for 14 years and you've only lost, this is gonna be your first one, so congratulations. That's a good run.
But, you know, they're getting paid.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
That's what it is.
So you're 40 years old, your back's against the wall, you have no money, you have to borrow $10,000 from your father-in-law. Then how do you dig yourself out of this hole?
So I just started, making offers. Mm-hmm. I was making offers, but not like I should have. I wasn't intentional because I was still doing other stuff. Yeah. And
so the goal was fix and flipping houses here on the Big Island.
Yeah. So I got my first property in Hawaiian Beaches. Okay. And I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's one of the lowest income neighborhoods. Okay. And there was very interesting, a lot of drugs, gunshots we would hear. We had to call the police, like the next door neighbor.
So you bought the property and then it's just a little rough. There's like some crime in the area. There's gunshots in your neighborhood.
And I knew absolutely nothing about construction. So the way I was like, well, I need to learn this. I was on it from beginning to end.
That first project.
Yeah. And, I'd be... fortunately, I had a contractor that was really helpful, and he showed me a lot. He was very patient. He would say, hey, I need a miter cut on that whatever. And I'm like, what's a miter? What's a 45? The hammer drill. Like, there's a hammer inside that thing or what? So I learned a lot. I kind of dove in, and that helped me to be able to communicate moving forward with contractors.
I feel like that's really important. I think a lot of people don't start out with any construction experience, myself included. And it just seems like such a vast thing that you have to learn just because it's a foreign language. There's so much to be, and it seems daunting. But then doing your first deal and being very close to your contractor, actually, I think when I started, I tried to do some of the work myself, which is a big mistake. But then you learn so much from that, right? As the first project, you just stay really close to the renovation side, learn all the parts of it. So when later on, when you're hiring or you're managing, you understand the construction side.
Yeah. It helped a ton, and I'm still learning a ton.
Same, yeah.
And I've learned even how to communicate. Like in the early days, it was almost like I was just, oh, you want to work with me? Oh, yeah, thank you for showing up. And, so there was that scarcity mindset.
You didn't see the value brought as a client. I think a lot of times we feel like the contractor is doing us a favor by helping us out, which they are. But at the same time, as a paying client, you're bringing value to the contractor. So just kind of understanding that we both are helping each other, and it's not like a one-sided kind of thing. Yeah,
and contractors are a breed, and they all talk. I don't know if they all talk, but there's a culture, right?
Yeah,
and
there's a community.
It's talking down to you. I'm smarter than you, and so sometimes all you contractors out there, I'll just play dumb. And I'll get a feel for this person. This guy's going to try and run me, and I'm still learning that of how to get and find the right contractors, especially on the outer islands. There's not as many people to work with. So
finding good contractors is one of the hardest part, I think, of being a fix and flipper. Just having a consistent, reliable contractor who's going to show up and do good work every single day. Yeah. But when you find those guys, they're like
take care of them.
Yeah, take care of them. So
give them bonuses, which I'll do random bonuses here and there, and
Same. We do that a little bit for our contractors too. I mean, we want to keep the loyalty, and you want to keep them with you. Just like that. Just when you make money, you also want your team to make money too. So having a little bit of the overflow, to share it with your contractors.
Yeah. I think too, switching it to a building. Before it was like they weren't a part of my team because it just felt like this distance. And now I try to bring them into what I'm doing, give them vision for where I'm going. Teaching them even, knowing that they might jump ship. But that's I find that has been helpful.
That's cool. So flipping houses on the Big Island. Got your first deal in Hawaiian Beaches. Yeah. How did that one go?
I bought it for $53,000.
Okay, $53,000 as a single family house.
Yeah.
in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
Now this area is interesting, is Lava Zone 2.
Okay.
2 years prior to that, there was a gigantic lava flow.
Okay.
And I have a friend who's a volcanologist, and he's like, "Are you sure you want to buy a house there?" He's like, "Come here, let me show you." He pulls up the volcano map, and he goes, "You see that volcano? And if it had kept moving, it would have wiped out the entire subdivision." And so you're like dodging volcanoes, investing in real estate. Yeah. We had a hurricane hit during the flip.
Wow.
So yeah, investing in Hawaii is not for the faint of heart.
No, definitely. But okay, so bought for 53,000.
Yeah, 53. The rehab was 57.
Okay, so all in for about 110,000.
And I netted 53,000.
Great. So you made a profit of 53,000 at the end of the day on your first deal.
Yeah, and that was very life-changing. You know, when you go from broke to that in 5 months and you're holding this check, it's like, oh my gosh. And so you
it's
just
like
start thinking
it's a
differently.
proof of concept. Like you just made 53,000 on one deal.
Yeah.
Which you're like, sometimes that's someone's entire salary, right?
Yeah.
But it's just, it proved that real estate investing actually does work and you can actually do it as an investor.
Yeah. So I did that, and I was all in. And I got other deals on the Big Island, East Side, West Side. Then I jumped over to Maui.
Okay. So you're doing deals on the Big Island and Maui. And then the next 3 years, what did that kind of like cycle? How did that snowball kind of take effect?
I don't really know. I was just opportunistic, and you have to go where the deals are, which is what I did. Started doing spec homes.
Okay.
And again, that was only through meeting somebody at a mastermind. And he's like, "Hey, I'm building this spec home," and he showed me his formula of how he did it, and he handed it to me, and I was like, "That's pretty good." So I did that.
That's so interesting. So you met a guy at a mastermind, and he basically kind of gave you his blueprint of how he's making money.
Yeah.
Was he?
And
also,
I used all of his contractors. He was awesome. Lee.
It's kind of crazy. I mean, I feel like we met at a mastermind.
Yeah.
The Camacho's mastermind in Maui. But then it's like there's so much like value you get from like just meeting people at masterminds and just connecting. There's so much like value sharing at masterminds.
Man, that has changed my life. When I did Brandon's masterclass, first of all, I didn't think I was going to get in, and I was like,
Brandon Turner we're talking about. So.
Brandon Turner, and I remember talking to Tarl. It was like Brandon and Tarl, and I was like, Why'd you let me in?
So what is Brandon's mastermind? Or what is that?
Well, I don't think it's sort of morphed into the Better Life.
Okay.
But it was
originally
it was 3 groups of 30 investors.
Okay.
And you had to apply to get into it.
Okay.
The first one I applied, and I didn't really put my best foot forward because I was like, "There's no way."
Yeah.
And then when I didn't get in, I was like, "Oh, that sucks." And then the next class came up, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna really, work, tell everything that I've done, and I got in, and at that point, it was just me, myself, and I every day, and that's not the best place to live. And
so you're a solo investor in Big Island, like no community, no other like network.
I don't really know any other flippers. It's Big Island's interesting in that regard. It's like everyone's like kind of hides. Although I did start a meetup, which has been really good. Yeah. So the class opened me up to a new world of meeting all these other really successful investors. And, we're on calls, weekly. And it's incredible when I can be like, "Hey, Tammy, I have this problem." And she's like, "Oh, you just need to do this," or talk to that, lender, or, It's changed my life, and even it's made it a lot more fun. And it's enabled me to scale to other projects. Like I'm working on. We're going to be doing self-storage on the Big Island. There's no way I would be doing that unless I had met my partner at that class.
Well, you met a guy to help you do self-storage. You met a guy to help you build spec homes. I mean, like, there's so much people we meet at masterminds or these networking events where it really like supercharges our growth as investors. And also at the same time, you can help supercharge other people's growth by giving them advice or resources on their journey as well too.
I'm all in. That's why anytime I have a, time, I'll go to an event like, Indoors yesterday.
How much did it cost for Brandon's Mastermind back then?
$6,000.
$6,000, and it was like 1 day event, 2 day event.
It was like a 4-day.
4-day.
And it was awesome. It was all like, they took us on the boat and really good food, and you're doing all these like workshops with these guys. And Brandon is, man, salt of the earth guy. He's just the real deal.
I remember like the first time, so I've been a Bigger Pockets fan for a long time. Literally, Bigger Pockets has got me started my real estate investing journey. So like listening to them, like all those things, like that's where like my first education came from. And listening to Brandon Turner every day in my car, right? I feel like he really like helped me to start my journey of financial freedom and investing. And so when I met him for the first time at a meetup, I was a little like starstruck. I was like, oh, it's Brandon Turner. I've been listening to him for such a long time.
Was it Alex's?
No, it was like another meetup like that. So I went, I was like, hey Brandon, like just wanted to let you know, like you changed my life. And then Brandon, he's like, no, you changed your life. I remember that. I was such a like, I was like, wow, like such a thing where like, I was like, dude, like I listened to your podcast so much, like, like you taught me the BRRRR strategy, like you gave me the tools I needed to reach financial freedom. So like, dude, like you changed my life. Yeah. But then when he came back, he's like, no, you changed your life. And that was, I was like, I got chicken like chills.
Totally.
It was but it's so true. I think like when, like there's so much people who help us along on our journey to become financially free or successful, and all credit, you can't do this by yourself. But then at the end of the day, it all comes down to what you take action on, like, and you're responsible for like your success and your own life. Yep.
So networking.
So if you guys are not networking, get out there and hit some. We got a network, by the way. I mean, a meetup, like a monthly meetup. Bruce has a monthly meetup. There's tons of meetups available. Like if you're not networking here, like there's so much opportunities at these events for sure. Yeah. So networking, and what's crazy, I think, was like it's only $6,000 for that event. I think before, like events were a lot cheaper. They were just like, they're only like a couple grand. Nowadays, the events are like 20 grand or like 30 grand for these things. I feel like the prices are rising, but just in the beginning, like back in the day, like things were like, was like just a little, and it's going to continue to get like more expensive probably in the future as well too. Yeah. But so you're starting you're flipping houses, you're building spec homes. In 3 years, you basically reach millionaire status from real estate investing.
Really, that came through building my own house. I built it myself for $160 a square foot.
Oh wow, that's like really good.
And because I did the work, and I built it as a triplex. So
the original house hack.
Yeah, and so the rent covers our
So you built a primary house to live in, so with 3 different units in it. So you would live in one and then rent out the other 2. Yeah. What is your mortgage and what do you rent these guys out for?
Mortgage is $3,700.
Okay.
And I pull in $3,850
on both like 12, 24 or like a half and half. So.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's probably worth $2 million.
So you're living for free. You have built-in equity, and you're building like wealth over time just by living in your house and renting it out. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. So specs homes, and then it somehow when I did a flip in Maui, it morphed into, hey, let's do a development. And that's been my most challenging part of what I've been doing.
So you want to do a development in Maui? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So there was a lot in Kihei that came up, and they don't come up that often.
Like, are you talking about like plots of land?
Yeah.
Okay.
And a friend of mine is at the time the largest workforce kind of entry-level housing developer at Maui. They'd built over 1,000 units.
Wow. Okay.
And he's like, hey, he actually did one right across the street. He's like, we can build workforce housing here,
What is workforce housing?
Yeah. So it's basically the goal to give home ownership instead of a rental program.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there's an income restriction if you make, above it, and you have to be a local resident in order to qualify.
This is like much needed in Hawaii. Like there's so much, Hawaii is so expensive. It's so hard to buy a house, especially like if you're like working like a normal W-2 here in Hawaii. Yeah. I feel like we need more programs like this where there's an income restriction and you can actually own a house as opposed to renting.
Yeah. So that was my goal, is to help change the legacy of locals, because I've lived here over 20 years and I've said goodbye to a lot of people, like I'm sure you have, because of the cost of living.
It's just so expensive. So people are moving to Vegas or to like other parts of the country just because it's so hard to buy a house over here.
So that was our journey, and all along through it, it's an expensive entitlement process. We had to get an archaeological survey and a wetland report.
So the plan, so you buy a piece of land, then you build, like, is it like a condos? Is it like single family houses? What is this?
Yeah, it was like a condo. It was a condo association.
And then how many units would you build on it?
It was 28.
So a 28 unit condo, basically, and then it would be like affordable housing for locals.
Yeah, we were going to be selling them for $200,000 below market value.
Wow. Okay.
And at the time, the median price was $830. So that's a significant savings. And you had to be a local resident. Okay. And if you sold that property, you had to sell it to another local. So it was deed restricted.
And are there other programs like this on the islands where it's like where you can apply for affordable housing and you have to sell it to another local?
We kind of put that. There have been other developments like that, but we made sure that was in our program.
Okay.
You know, but maybe there's been some other bad blood out there with other developers where they're like, they did a loophole where if it's on the market for 6 months and it doesn't sell, then you can go market value. You know, but we were like, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So towards the end of it, you had to do testimony, you had to go and testify in front of the city council.
Okay.
And all through that process, the city council was for us. And then at the last meeting, all of the neighbors came out. We called them NIMBYs, which not in my backyards. Okay. And they basically started a fabrication that it's a wetland. And you know, we had the Army Corps of Engineer report. If you look at the property, it's completely developed all the way around it.
Okay.
It's 2 blocks in from the ocean, and so that was what they were using as a way to stop it.
So why do you think the neighbors were these like locals? Like, who are these people who didn't want the housing in their neighborhood?
Well, 60% of the people in that area are absentee owners.
Okay, so they're like almost like investors in the mainland who just come in occasionally.
The main guy against us, that literally we would come onto the property, and I'd be there with whoever, maybe whatever, and he'd be like, buyer beware, get off the property, it's a wetland, and and that guy was from New Zealand, like not even from here. And so the city council voted 5-4 against it.
Wow. Okay. Do you think there was some like influence from the New Zealand guy?
100%. There was also a city council member at the time that was linked to what's the green piece or whatever. And so she was very, and I understand that there's been, stuff in the past that, has really been messed up that's happened in Hawaii. But we were trying to do a good thing. And this is definitely not a wetland. That being said, Kihei is a flood zone, but it's all developed.
Yeah.
And so we were actually engineering these to be above the ground and, actually to put it in a better situation than every other property in that area.
Yeah. So, I mean, you guys are trying to do a good thing. You're trying to build affordable housing. And then, like, what does the plan look like? What would you buy the lot for? What would, like, the build cost? And, like, how can you afford to sell it at such a big discount?
So there was a program where you basically get tax credits.
Okay.
And so we had $1 million tax credit from another developer, and that offsets your build cost. So in order to develop in most counties, you have to X amount of percentage needs to go towards affordable housing.
Okay.
And that helps you build at a lower cost.
How does tax credits help your build cost? I guess I'm not following that.
They basically just give you, so it's per unit is a tax credit, and that developer will pay you the money so that they can build their development. Okay. Some developers will do it internal. They'll do the affordable itself, and then they'll build their own. But this one developer didn't have that, and so they needed our tax credits. So they were going to give us $1 million.
So they're basically giving you money for your tax credits. Yeah. And so by getting the tax credits from like the state or the county, it allows you to build at a lower cost, which allows you to actually sell for a lower cost as well. Exactly. I feel like why doesn't the government do more of these just in general? Why haven't we seen more of these just on Oahu, you think? Or in the islands?
Honestly, I don't know the right answer. I know that they could be doing a lot more. You know, Hawaiian Homelands to making it the permit process is insane. I mean, you know, Governor Green came out with the emergency proclamation, and he broke it down. He said just to build a unit in Hawaii, all of the red tape and bureaucracy costs $250,000
for one unit, just for the bureaucracy.
For one unit. It's a problem. Stuff needs to change. They need to make it more streamlined, easier, and less expensive.
Yeah. Because if we could build it at a cheaper cost, we could sell it at a cheaper cost as well too.
Exactly. Right? And that's one of the problems for why, you know, housing has gone up. There's other reasons, but yeah.
So is this project dead in the water? Where is the status of it right now?
So going into it, we knew that there could be a possibility. So now we're building on it as it's entitled. So we have a 4-lot subdivision.
Okay.
And we're going to build 12 spec homes.
Okay. So just going to be regular single-family houses.
Yeah. As
opposed to like the affordable housing you originally planned.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
You didn't remind me about the... So we received death threats.
From who? Like who is from the
neighbors? Like we'd get texts like, I won't say, but...
Yeah. What do these texts say? Or what do like?
Oh, cuz I see you cross the street.
Oh, really?
Like, watch out.
Wow.
And one time I was standing in the street.
Okay.
And I was there with some other investor guys, and we were just talking. And all of a sudden, this truck comes up out of nowhere and just like screeches on the tires, like 2 feet from me. Like there was like intent, pretending like he was going to hit me.
Yeah.
This other guy smacks his car and what the F, you know, like, what are you doing? You know, and he says something out the window and he speeds off.
Wow.
So it was real, man, the tension.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're pivoting now, and it's unfortunate for the people of Maui because, you know, even post fires, another developer friend said, hey, there's a new city council. The one that was really against us was out. They'll pass it, you know, in light of what's happened. And we had already made the pivot.
And the spec homes already.
Yeah. And it was like, man, I don't think I can go down that road.
Cost. I mean, like,
we're already pot committed to this thing, you know? So unfortunate, but that's the beauty of real estate, man. There's always numerous exit strategies.
Yeah. I mean, that's sad to hear, but I mean, at the same time, like it's also like eye-opening to see there are opportunities to build like cheaper or build affordable housing if like the county would help support it.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So getting back to, let's take your journey of like investing, maybe what's like the most successful flip you've ever done?
There was one in Maui.
Okay.
And we bought it. It was up in Kula on 3 acres. We bought it for $800,000.
Okay, $800,000.
Put about $400 into it, and then we netted $300.
Wow, that's so. You guys made $300,000 on one flip over in Maui.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's huge. I feel like that's like when I hear numbers like that, it's life-changing money.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's as a normal person who works or used to work as a W-2, making let's say like $85,000 a year. When you hear somebody making like $300,000 on one deal, like it's, to me that's like 4 years of work right there. It's insane that those opportunities are available in real estate investing.
Yeah, it's, you know, you got some singles and you got some home runs and you got some grand slams, and it's just being consistent, you know. And I think having multiple projects going helps mitigate the risk.
Yeah. What do you kind of see as far as like your current, like what are you doing currently, or what's your current trajectory? Like what's like are you flipping houses? Are you building ground up? What's kind of like your thing that you're doing or focusing on right now?
Currently I have 7 projects.
Fix and flips or
one. So, you know, the goal is buy and hold, right? But Hawaii is challenging, especially with the interest rate.
Yeah.
So I have 7 going right now. 6 of those are flips and 1 is a hold.
Okay.
And the hold is only making sense because I got it for,
Is this on the Big Island or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I bought it for $283 and it appraised at $750.
Wow. Did you put any renovation into it, or how'd you?
No. Well, there's currently a squatter in that. That's fun.
Okay.
Have you ever had to deal with that?
Yeah. It's just
And that's partly why I got such a good deal on it. They're like, you deal with it. I was like,
so
yeah.
there's you bought it for 283.
Yeah.
There's a squatter in it currently right now.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be worth 700 roughly after you get it, get the squatter out and put a small rehab into it.
Yeah. Rental rehab, and then it's 2 units, and it'll bring in around $5,000 a month.
So what's your plan to get rid of the squatter?
I've already been to court 3 times.
Okay.
In our last court, and they're working the system. They've been living there for 5 years for free.
Okay.
And they're just dragging it out. And the attorney's like, they have nothing, but they're just buying more time.
Yeah.
So hopefully the last court date is coming up.
Good luck, man.
And then other flips in Kauai, got 3. Actually, so one of those is a CPR.
Okay.
So it's a rehab, and originally when I bought it, I was going to keep it, but the interest rates have gone up so much that it's now no longer cash flowing, and so I'm CPRing it. Which, for those that don't know, it's basically subdividing, and so that lot is half acre subdivided. It's 12,000 square feet, and that lot itself is worth around 400.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm going to sell that lot and now sell the house. I thought about rolling it into it to like buy it down to make sense, but I'm gonna sell that one, and then got a flip on the market in Maui right now.
So you're kind of like on all the different islands, just kind of like doing like a whole bunch of different projects at the same time.
Yeah.
Do you have a team, or how do you manage everything together?
I definitely need to improve that, the who not how, but I got good team in Kauai, in Maui, and in Kona, but I definitely could improve in that area of what I'm doing. It's a lot. It's a lot to manage that, that many projects. I'm curious, what does your team look like?
We got a project manager that helps manage our projects. We got like an acquisitions guy who helps with like our acquisitions. We got someone who helps with like managing all of our lenders. A couple social media guys. Like we spend a lot of time and money on.
How many in your team?
Like 8 or 9, something around there.
That's awesome.
But it's just slow. It's built slow and steady. Where when I first started, I just be by myself, like just doing all the hats. Yeah. And I was like, hey, like I have way too much projects, way too much things going on. I used to like, let's hire the first person. So hire like a virtual assistant to help with like a few of the things. And I think you're always trying to get a hire for like the lowest hanging fruit, whereas like the thing that you can part off the easiest, that's the easy to teach. So I think the first thing maybe like administrative work or transaction coordination. And then slowly after that, then I hired like a project manager. And so it's just like piece by piece, as like the deal flow is growing, that just hiring different parts to kind of like take the load off of yourself. Yeah. But it's been a crazy journey. I mean, just like the managing a team and like having employees is like way different than like doing it yourself. And so like there's good and bad parts. So there's good part is like you have people that you can work with and you care about that are helping you along with the line. But the bad part is now that you have good people that you work with that you're also responsible with for salaries and like for training, for coaching, the inspiration, all the different kinds of parts of just having a team alongside you. Yeah. But good stuff, man. Good stuff. Yeah. So just like on your journey, as you are learning all these different things, somebody who's starting out, what do you think separates somebody who's like the Bruce that was like broke at 40 and the Bruce that is successful today? What is the difference between these two guys?
For me, my biggest obstacle, which why it took me 16 years to do my first project of my own, was mindset and believing in yourself.
What do you mean by that? Can you break that down?
I just didn't have the belief, the right mind to believe that I could do it. I had the knowledge, I had the experience of raising capital. And, so I would say don't wait till your back is against the wall like I was when I was broke. It's like, take action right now to get to where you need to be. So mindset. And then I'm not the smartest guy, but I have grit and determination, and I'll figure it out.
I feel like that's a big part of success. There's just like grit and determination to figure things out. Because I think a lot of us, we're not going to know everything. We're not smart enough to figure this real estate investing game out. Yeah. But then just having like the mindset that you're going to figure it out, and then like as obstacles come your way, that you're gonna choose to overcome those challenges. That's like
you have to. There's no other way. The obstacle is the way. And I think the sooner you can learn that, it's like be the guy that can take bad news. Yeah. And okay, how are we going to get through this? and be the guy that will figure it out because no one else is going to do it. And so it forces you to be that. And so, yeah, mindset and grit really is the word.
How do you, any advice for how to take bad news? I feel like
ignore the first thought that comes into your mind. Take a deep breath. Okay. Yes. Now, how are we going to fix this? You know, like what's our step here?
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes I'm not like, I don't get I explosive or whatever. It's just that doesn't help. Figure it out. Cause our job, like that's the biggest thing about what you see on social media and everything is 80, 90% of it is the wins.
Yeah.
And you and I know 80% of what we do, you're just a problem solver.
Yeah, it's so
all
true.
day long.
So
you're solving problems here and
so
there,
true.
and you're getting this, you're making this, you know, this guy's showing up. That is the crux of what we do.
Yeah.
And what you see on social media is like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that course.
The thing is, so you see the end result of the flip, right? You see like the before and the after. You see it sold for this much. You made this much money. You made $300,000 on one deal. But the process to get there is solving problems daily. It's like bad news, solve this problem. Bad news, solve this problem over and over again. And you have to develop that muscle of receiving bad news, processing it and not exploding, and then being able to solve it and then go on to the next thing.
Yeah. You know, and then there's a lot I can learn on how to deal with those situations better. You know, like you watch some shows, which I don't typically do, and I don't know if it's staged or whatnot, but like they show the tension because that's what they want,
the drama.
And I'm like, oh, maybe I should be a little more like, you know, in their face, but you know, anyway.
But I mean, that's such a good point. I mean, just to camp on this a little bit is, I think a lot of investors, when they're starting out, they don't realize like the struggle it's gonna take to hit that success.
Yeah.
So like because when you see on social media, it's like, hey, like we bought a nice car, we live in a nice house, we had all these successes and we made this much money.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we don't share. Oh, actually, we lost money on this other deal. Like besides this win, or we're dealing with this drama with whether it's a squatter or like a contractor or like a lender or whatever it is. But then like going into it knowing it's going to be hard, having that expectation will kind of prepare you for that journey. You know, and so I think a short story, I went to do my first marathon like a few years back. And I was like, it shouldn't be too hard. Like, you know, like it's like you run like 20 something miles. And like, I feel like it'd be like, I can just do it. So I went to it with no training. I was like actually up the night before, like drinking with some buddies.
You didn't train at all.
I was like, no, I was like, it can't be that bad. So on the side, I was going to run it with my stepdad and my sister. And I was like, they're going to go slow. So like, I don't need to train because I'm going to be hanging out with them. Bad decision. So like the first mile, I get a cramp, like I'm like cramping. But mile like 8 or 9, I'm like cramping in places I've never known that you could get cramps before. Like I struggled. Basically, like I crumbled and I like had to hobble my way to the finish line, holding back my sister and my stepdad. But I didn't know what to expect when I was going into it. So like I thought it'd be a lot easier than it was. Then when I encountered like the actual thing, it was like a lot harder because I didn't know what to expect. But now, like if I was to do it again, I know exactly what to expect and exactly how to train. I would like do so much better, I think. And I think the same thing applies as a real estate investor is if you go into it thinking it's going to be easy, then when you come into problems, you're like, this is harder than I expected. You're going to crumble at that point in time. But if you go into it knowing like it's going to be very hard, and when the problems come, you're like, this was what I expected. It was supposed to be hard. Then it's just a part of the process to kind of move on to the next thing.
What we do is really hard, but the longer you do it, you're building systems, you're building teams, and it becomes a little bit easier, and then a little bit easier, and then there's a new challenge. You know, and I think a lot of people want to get into it because of the sexiness of whatever they see, and when you get, you know, and then there's problems, and you have to be determined to get this thing off the ground and make it work, and
Was there like one problem you've ever experienced you say that was maybe like the hardest thing you've actually ever like overcome in this journey?
Hardest thing I've had to overcome myself. Really? Getting in the way of myself, not believing. Like anytime, you know, like you know, I was on a panel last night with these awesome investors. I'm like, I don't belong here. What am I doing here?
The imposter syndrome.
Yeah, imposter syndrome.
I get that all the time too. Right?
Because, you know, that's, I think that was the thing that stopped me all those years. You can't do that.
But the thing is, like, so when you're on your journey, you're working with your buddy Doug, and you're basically like, you had the whole blueprint. You had like, you're actually doing it yourself alongside him, but you still like had a mindset thing where you felt like you couldn't do it by yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And you know, his encouragement of like, you need to do this on your own. You have the knowledge and the skill set. And so surrounding yourself with others is so paramount. As we know, you know, you're the average of your 5 that you hang out with the most. And that's why I love connecting with you and other guys and Brandon and Cam and like all of these people have raised my bar significantly.
Yeah. I feel like and there's something to be said about just having like conversations and being in the same room as some of these successful investors where it changes your idea of what's real or what's possible. Like you said about your mindset, I think when I started getting coaching from Pineda, just having conversation with him, I realized that like I had limiting beliefs about myself.
Yeah.
I think like the thing about a scare or that's difficult about a limiting belief is you don't know you have it until you break it. Because like if you just assume that this is reality, it's like my reality is like the max I can make in Hawaii is $100,000 a year, and that's like very successful. That's just like that's just truth for me.
Yeah.
Then when you break that belief, you're like, actually, that's not truth. Like I can make more. And let's say like my limiting belief right now is like, I think if I'm very successful, I can make $1 million a year. Like I generally believe that.
Yeah.
That's just like my truth.
Yeah.
But when you break that, let's say you make like 2 or 3 million, you're like, wow, I actually had a limiting belief, but you don't realize you had a limiting belief until you actually break that belief. But you need to have guys around you who have already broken that belief to break it in yourself. So.
That is so true. Ultra successful people have this grand, I was talking with Brandon about this week, this grand delusion. Yeah. When they say stuff, you're like, you're crazy. Yeah. And in their mind, they're not crazy.
Yeah.
And even if they accomplish 50%, it's way beyond what this goal was.
Yeah.
And it breaks the glass ceiling of where people can go. And you've seen guys like Pineda and Brandon are doing incredible.
But they genuinely believe that they can do it. It's like, it's not like it's like, like the guy's like, dude, I'm gonna be a billionaire. I'm like, yeah, right. Like that's not. I mean, you think they're smoking crack? They're like, it's not even like in the realm of possibility. But they genuinely believe that they can do it, and they probably genuinely can. But like, you need that belief in order to get to that level.
Case in point, right here. We were we were going to a U2 concert in Vegas. And somehow, I can't remember how it came up, but I said, what's your favorite band? He said, oh, that's easy. Best band of all time, Newfound Glory.
Okay.
And I was like, best band of all time? How about the Beatles? Nope. How about Led Zeppelin? Nope. Yeah. How about, in his mind, he believes it, and I believe that he believes it.
Yeah.
And it's that belief that great things can happen because there's nobody on the planet thinks they're the best. Sorry. Maybe there is, but they're a good band. Best band?
Yeah. But just like that. But mindset is so important. But then I feel like the people don't realize the importance of this. Yeah. How can you break your mindset or your limiting beliefs to take yourself to that next level?
For me, it's other people help me get there. And education helps, but not nearly as much as other people.
What do you when you say other people? Like, what does that practically look like?
Hanging out with you right now, talking. Hanging out last night, and these guys are like, "Really, dude, you're doing awesome! Like, it's incredible. Yeah, you did great. Like, I don't think that about myself, and maybe that's another limiting belief that I need to break through. And when they're saying it, don't be surprised. Like, believe it. And that's just the way I'm wired. I'm totally extroverted. Like
introverted, you mean?
No, I'm a full-on extrovert.
Okay.
And so I like being in those environments, and that elevates who I am. And when I'm in my desk by myself, what am I doing?
I'm the exact opposite. I'm like an introvert, so like when I'm by myself, I like being myself. When I have to talk to too many people, I get tired.
Yeah. And what you've done in the amount of time is incredible. And you're a systems guy because of where you came from.
Yeah.
And that's a, you can partner with guys where they're good at this thing. And, I need more of a systems guy to, and I'm working towards that.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about, I think partnerships are huge. I mean, just working together in your superpower, your lane, and then having alongside another guy who's like very good at his lane.
I wish I could stay in my 20%.
What's stopping you from doing so?
Who, not how, of like hiring the right people or feeling like, because a lot of it is like money just goes like this, right?
What do you mean by that?
The ebb and flow of income,
like cash flow. You mean
the cash flow, right? It's like, well, I can hire this person.
Yeah.
But what if we have a long gap?
Yeah. That's one of the challenges I think about real estate investing is cash flow. We're always dealing with cash flow. They call it like equity rich cash flow.
Yeah.
Where like you have so much like equity in deals or in like rentals, whatever, but like you're always like trying to find cash to do renovations or like do the things that you need to do because like it's always like as soon as you get cash, you spend it on like another deal or something.
Yeah.
So it's always like this cycle of like you need to raise money for the next deal, and then like when cash comes in, then you put it towards like something else, another deal.
I mean, 300,000 sounds great, but most of that went to paying my house down. So I didn't see any of it. I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
But
so it's all equity. Like, so your net worth is very high, but your liquid cash is usually like very low. And also like, just as investors, we don't like having liquid cash sitting because it feels like it's waste.
Yeah.
We want to put it into something that's actually going to be making us money.
Yeah.
So it's a real challenge, I think, for investors, that just managing cash flow and so when you hire an employee, now you're locked into this, this amount of cash for the next amount of time. But another thing a mentor once told me was like when you do hire somebody, you're like, let's say you hire somebody for, let's say like $60,000 for like for the year, right? You're not locked in for $60,000. You're locked in for a fourth of that, so $15,000, because you're only locked in for the next 3 months. So for the next 3 months,
why is that?
For the next 3 months, if they're not going to perform or they're not making you money,
gotcha.
Then like you might have to like let them go, or like it's like it might be like a breakup at that point. So you're not locked in for the full 60, you're only locked in for that 15. So it's not as big of an investment as you might think. So like it's okay.
That's a good
I'm
way
gonna
to
hire somebody
look at
for like $60,000. Oh, I gotta save $60,000. Actually, no, you're locked in for $15,000. After 2 months, you're like, sorry guys, it's not working out.
Right there, that's
so
totally changed my limiting belief. So thank you.
Yeah, sure. So if you want to hire somebody, like just like put it, because at 2 months you're like, is this person bringing me more than like the 10,000 that we spent?
Yeah.
If they are, then now you got, it's like good because you made that money. But then if they're not, then it's okay. Actually, this is like a $10,000 loss for me because it just wasn't a good fit or not a good source use of my resources.
I like it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So just like if like final words, final thoughts. Somebody who's just getting started, they want to like kind of mimic with some of the success that you've had. What kind of advice would you give this to a brand new investor?
Obviously, educate yourself. Read as many books as you can on the space, and that's just don't get stuck there.
Do you have any specific books that you really would recommend?
I mean, there's really so many. I mean, one that I go back to. I'm drawing a blank. Never Split the Difference a lot because I've never been a great negotiator, and I'll literally go through his checklist of how to communicate with people. But there's so many. The One Thing, Atomic Habits, those give you the foundation of how to become, an entrepreneur and be successful. There's a ton.
Yeah. A small tip is. Before, so I read a lot myself too, but I started listening to a lot of audiobooks.
Oh, that totally changes.
So when you were exercising, working out, you put on the audiobook and you can actually do two things at once, right? Whether you're like washing dishes or like you're cleaning the house, but you listen to audiobook, it also helps you to be more productive. And especially when you're in your car driving, you can get so much more done when you're like listening to the books as opposed to just physically reading it.
And then of course, podcasts, like that's your daily guide. You're driving somewhere, you learn.
But there's something to be said about like actually having the physical book and reading it. I feel like you just absorb it better when you're just like actually
you take it a little more seriously.
Yeah. But one of the best ways to read, I think, is like in bed, because like, and this might be like people might disagree with me on this, but like a lot of times before when I'm gonna go sleep, I'm on my phone and I'm just like watching YouTube or whatever, like going down like, or Instagram, the black hole of social media. But then instead, like what I've been doing recently is taking out a book, and just reading a book, and like that puts me to sleep much faster. But you also absorb at the same time, you know, because like sometimes when you're on Instagram or you're on YouTube, you just like 2 hours goes by and you're like in your bed and like you're not falling asleep, which is like very bad for the next day.
That's funny because that reminds me of that's how I used to fall asleep every night. I'd read a book and you're like, oh.
But at the same time, like you're learning, but it also helps you to put you to sleep too. So little life hack.
And then the third thing would be what we already touched on is networking. Go to meetups and even on social media, which helps, which is a double-edged sword, as we know. So education, networking, and what was the third one? What did I say?
Education, networking, read on this. Mindset?
Sure. We'll add there mindset because that was my biggest obstacle. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Bruce. If people want to reach out or find you, what's the best way to do so?
Probably on Instagram.
Okay.
Bruce Properties at Bruce Properties, and you reach out to me. I'd love to connect.
You guys got a meetup? Are you a monthly meetup?
Yeah, we do. We're doing a monthly meetup on the Big Island, first Wednesdays.
Nice.
Every month, and I think we're going to graft in Omni's cash flow breakfast.
Okay.
To follow like a program.
Cool.
If you have any questions or want to partner or whatever, Bruce Properties.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah. Thank you.